For as long as I can remember, the annual family retreat was sacred. It wasn't just a trip, it was the event of the year. The huge wooden lodge by the lake, the smell of barbecue, cousins running around barefoot, late-night talks by the fire. It was the one time my family actually felt like a family. At least, that's what I thought. That year, though, something felt off. By October, everyone was buzzing with excitement. My siblings exchanged messages about packing lists, shared photos of swimsuits they'd bought, even made a family group chat named Retreat 2. 0. And yet, not once did anyone mention me. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe the invitation was coming late. Still, deep down, a knot started forming in my stomach. Finally, one evening at dinner, I decided to ask. So, should I start packing too? I said it lightly, forcing a laugh. My mom froze for half a second, then exchanged a quick glance with my dad. He stayed quiet. She cleared her throat. Sweetheart. About that, she began, her voice cautious. This year we just don't have enough space for everyone. You understand, right? For a moment, I thought I misheard. No space? At a retreat that fit 118 siblings, in-laws, cousins, even family friends who barely counted as family? I blinked. You mean no space for me? She tried to smile, as if softening the blow. You're the most independent, darling. We thought you wouldn't mind sitting this one out. And just like that, the air in the room shifted. The retreat that once meant warmth and belonging suddenly became the symbol of something darker. My family's choice to erase me. I didn't say another word that night, but inside, something snapped. And that's when the real story began. The next morning, I woke up with this heavy pit in my chest. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe Mom was just stressed. Maybe Dad didn't want drama at the table. I almost convinced myself I was being paranoid until I unlocked my phone. There it was. A new notification from the family group chat. The one they forgot to remove me from. The messages flew by, one after another. Can't wait for the retreat. Just booked our cabin upgrade. Who's bringing the karaoke machine this year? I scrolled, my hands trembling. And then I saw it. My oldest sister had posted the full guest list. Names carefully typed out, highlighted, organized by cabins. 6 siblings, their spouses, their kids, family friends, even a second cousin I hadn't seen in 5 years. But not me. My name wasn't there. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring with tears. There was plenty of space. They hadn't forgotten me. They had erased me, deliberately. My phone buzzed with another notification. This time, it was from my cousin Rachel. Hey, are you coming to the retreat? Haven't seen your name on the list. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to expose everything right there in the group chat, to call out the lie about no space. But I didn't. Instead, I typed 3 words. Not this year. And then I put my phone down. In that silence, something shifted inside me. It wasn't just about a family retreat anymore. It was about respect, about being seen, about not letting myself be pushed aside like some extra piece of luggage. If they thought I was going to stay home quietly while they enjoyed the retreat, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The next morning, I woke up with this heavy pit in my chest. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe Mom was just stressed. Maybe Dad didn't want drama at the table. I almost convinced myself I was being paranoid until I unlocked my phone. There it was. A new notification from the family group chat. The one they forgot to remove me from. The messages flew by, one after another. Can't wait for the retreat. Just booked our cabin upgrade. Who's bringing the karaoke machine this year? I scrolled, my hands trembling. And then I saw it. My oldest sister had posted the full guest list. Names carefully typed out, highlighted, organized by cabins. 6 siblings, their spouses, Their kids, family friends, even a second cousin I hadn't seen in 5 years. But not me. My name wasn't there. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring with tears. There was plenty of space. They hadn't forgotten me. They had erased me, deliberately. My phone buzzed with another notification. This time, it was from my cousin Rachel. "Hey, are you coming to the retreat? Haven't seen your name on the list." My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to expose everything right there in the group chat, to call out the lie about no space. But I didn't. Instead, I typed 3 words, "Not this year." And then I put my phone down. In that silence, something shifted inside me. It wasn't just about a family retreat anymore. It was about respect. About being seen. About not letting myself be pushed aside like some extra piece of luggage, if they thought I was going to stay home quietly while they enjoyed the retreat. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The next morning, I acted like nothing was wrong. I went down to breakfast, poured myself some coffee, even asked my mom if she needed help packing. She barely looked at me. My dad mumbled something about busy schedules. My siblings, one by one, breezed past me, whispering excitedly about the trip. It was like I was already gone to them. A ghost. But ghosts can haunt. As soon as I was alone, I pulled out my notebook and started sketching out a plan. If my family thought they could erase me from the retreat, I'd make sure my presence echoed louder than any of their laughter in that cabin. I thought about the lodge, the cabins, the activities, the bonfire tradition. And then I remembered something important, my uncle, the one who always joked that I was the smart one of the family. He'd given me a contact years ago, someone who managed events at the retreat. A name, a number. I found it in my old phone notes. My hands shook as I dialed. "Hello?" a cheerful voice answered. Within minutes, I had everything I needed. The guest list, the real capacity of the cabins, and even the name of the company that was catering the event. My family hadn't just lied. They had carefully chosen to cut me out. Deliberately. That's when my plan shifted from hurt to revenge. I booked my own cabin. But that was just the beginning. Because if they wanted me invisible, I would show up brighter than any of them. As I hung up the phone, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My eyes didn't look sad anymore. They looked sharp, determined. My family had no idea. The countdown had begun. The days leading up to the retreat felt like living in slow motion. Every morning, I watched my family rush around the house, buzzing with excitement, while I sat quietly, invisible, sipping coffee and pretending not to care. Inside, though, I was a storm. My siblings compared ski gear. My mom triple-checked her lists. My dad kept bragging about how this year would be the biggest retreat ever. Every word was a knife, twisted deeper. They never mentioned me, not once. But they didn't know that I had already secured my own cabin, just a short walk from theirs. And they definitely didn't know about the other calls I'd made, because I wasn't just planning to attend. I was planning to unmask them. The caterers, I had spoken with them. The event manager, I had asked some very specific questions about guest allocations and payments, and every new detail confirmed it. My parents had deliberately excluded me, not because there wasn't enough space, but because they didn't want me there. The realization burned, but it also fueled me. By the 3rd night, I stopped crying. By the 4th, I stopped doubting myself. On the 5th, I started smiling again, because I knew that when the retreat began, my family wouldn't just see me. They'd remember me forever. The night before they left, I helped my mom zip up her overstuffed suitcase. She smiled, thanked me absently, then walked away without even asking what I'd be doing while they were gone. I watched her leave the room, my jaw clenched, and whispered under my breath, "You'll find out soon enough." The clock was ticking, and the storm inside me was ready to break. When my family finally left for the retreat, the house was silent for the first time in weeks. I didn't cry. I didn't beg them to take me. Instead, I calmly zipped my own small bag, grabbed my keys, and drove off in the opposite direction, toward the very place they said had no space for me. The drive was long, winding through snow-covered hills, but every mile filled me with a strange, steady fire. I wasn't going to crash their little party. I wasn't going to plead for a chair at their overcrowded table. No, I was going to show them what it felt like to erase someone and then watch that someone rise stronger than ever. When I arrived, the retreat lodge was breathtaking. A massive wooden structure sat against the mountains, lights glowing in the snow. Outside, cars filled the parking lot. I recognized a few license plates immediately: my siblings, my cousins, even my uncle's flashy SUV. So much for no room. I parked my car on the far side, away from their sight, and walked toward my own cabin. The air was sharp and cold, but it carried the smell of firewood and pine. It almost felt peaceful, until I heard the distant roar of laughter. My family's laughter. I unlocked my cabin, stepped inside, and smiled. It wasn't huge, but it was mine, warm, private, and perfect for what I had planned. I set down my bag and pulled out the envelope that had been burning a hole in my backpack for days. Inside were copies of every email, every receipt, and every proof that my family had lied about the space. Tomorrow, when they gathered for their first night together, I would make sure everyone saw the truth. They thought they had silenced me, but I was just getting started. The next evening, I stood at the edge of the main lodge, hidden in the shadows of tall pine trees. The windows glowed with golden light, and through the glass I could see them all: my parents, my siblings, their spouses, their kids. Plates of food covered the long wooden tables. Music played softly in the background. And laughter, so much laughter. It was the sound of a family celebrating together, a family that had declared there wasn't enough space for me. My hands trembled as I clutched the envelope of evidence. But instead of anger, I felt calm. Powerful. They had erased me, but tonight I would write myself back into the story. I waited until the chatter grew loud, until they were raising glasses for a toast. Then I walked up the steps, pushed open the heavy wooden door, and stepped inside. The room went silent. Forks clattered against plates. Heads turned in unison. "Emily?" My mother's voice cracked, as though she had seen a ghost. I smiled politely. "I thought there wasn't enough room," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "But clearly you managed to fit. 118 people." Whispers spread through the room. My father stood up, his face red. "This isn't the time, Emily," he growled. "Actually," I said, pulling the papers from my envelope and placing them neatly on the table in front of him, "it's exactly the time." The silence was unbearable. I could see eyes darting toward the papers, then back at me. My siblings shifted uncomfortably in their seats. And then, for the first time in my life, I watched my parents lose control of the room. This was only the beginning. For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the faint crackling of the fireplace. My father's hand hovered over the papers, as though touching them might burn him. My mother stared at me, pale, frozen in her chair. Finally, one of my cousins, seated near the stack, leaned forward and slid the first page closer. His eyes scanned quickly and then widened. "These are bank statements?" he whispered. The entire table seemed to lean forward as curiosity overtook the tension. I folded my arms and nodded. "Go on, read it aloud. They never told you, did they?" My cousin hesitated, then cleared his throat. "It says, the family trust account was drained. Hundreds of thousands moved into separate accounts under Dad's name. And Mom's." A wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the room. My siblings exchanged uneasy glances. Some of their spouses pulled out their phones, typing furiously, as if trying to confirm what they were hearing. My father finally slammed his fist against the table. "Enough! This is private family business." But I didn't flinch. "No, Dad, you made it public when you lied to everyone here, when you told them there wasn't enough money or enough space. You tried to erase me because you knew I'd find the truth." My mother's voice trembled. "Emily, please don't do this." I looked her in the eye, steady and cold. "Don't do what? Tell the truth? Protect myself from the people who were supposed to protect me?" The room erupted, questions flying from every direction, accusations, demands. My parents tried to shout over the noise, but no one was listening anymore. For the first time in years, their power was slipping away, and I was the one pulling the thread. The dining room was no longer a place for laughter or celebration. It had become a courtroom. Every eye was locked on my parents, their faces pale and tight with panic. One of my uncles shot to his feet, waving the papers in the air. "What the hell is this, Richard? You've been telling us for years that money was tight. That's why you couldn't help pay for the retreat center repairs, why we had to pitch in extra. And all this time you've been funneling cash away?" My father stammered, his voice shaking. It's not what you think." But the evidence lay bare on the table, page after page of transactions, transfers, lies. My eldest brother, who had always been my father's staunch defender, looked at me with a conflicted face, then back at Dad. His voice cracked. "You told us Emily was exaggerating, that she was dramatic. But this is proof." For the first time, silence fell in my father's direction. No one came to his defense. Not even my mother, who sat trembling, clutching her wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. I leaned forward, my voice steady. "They made you all believe I didn't belong here, that I was the problem. But the truth is, they were hiding things from all of us. Money, lies, control." The room buzzed with anger now, not at me, but at them. My cousins whispered furiously. One of my siblings slammed a fist on the table. So all those years of guilt trips, of saying we should be grateful, was it all built on lies? My parents' silence was answer enough. And in that silence, I felt something shift. For the first time, I wasn't the outsider. For the first time. They were. The night ended not with laughter, not with toasts, but with a storm of voices rising against my parents. My uncle demanded answers. My siblings, once blind defenders, turned on them with a fury I had never seen before. My mother tried to plead. "We did what we thought was best. For the family." But the words sounded hollow, empty, stripped of all power. My father finally snapped. "Fine! Yes, I kept things from you. Yes, I made decisions without telling anyone. But you all benefited. Every one of you ate at my table, spent my money. Don't pretend you're innocent." The room erupted. Cousins shouted. Siblings cried. In-laws demanded explanations. I didn't need to say another word. My silence was louder than anything I could have shouted. And then came the blow that shattered everything. My eldest brother stood up, walked around the table, and placed a hand on my shoulder. His voice was firm. "Emily was right. She always was. You pushed her aside, told her she didn't belong. But the truth is, you're the ones who don't belong here anymore." Gasps rippled through the room. My mother looked like she'd been stabbed. My father clenched his fists, but there was no fight left in him. The power they had held for decades evaporated in a single moment. One by one, my family members turned their chairs away from them. Conversations shifted, alliances broke, and in that shift, I saw it. Justice. For years, they told me there was no room for me, that I was unnecessary, dramatic, disposable. But in the end, it was them who had no room left. I walked out that night with my head high, the weight gone from my chest, and for the first time in my life, I was free.